host, John MacDonald.
Hi, I'm visiting today with Representative Kelly McCarthy from House District 49. Welcome, and thank you for taking a little bit of time to visit with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's talk about some of the subjects that you were heavily involved in the last legislative session. Economic development and job creation was a big one. Tell us a little bit about some of the work you did and some of the issues that came up.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the long version if you want it. A few years ago, when Jared Diamond wrote his book Collapse, he had an entire chapter dedicated to the Bitterroot Valley in Montana. And the book was centered around, why certain economies work and why they don't, and looking at some of the challenges that we have here in Montana in creating an economy where we're highly, dependent on geopolitical events, weather patterns, things of this nature. And so at that point, and I was actually doing college at the time and wrote some papers on this, but I just thought, we really need to diversify the economy. Mm-hmm. and those things that used to inhibit us in the past, the distance to markets and sparse populations, we can actually overcome a lot of that now with technology. So I kind of started looking at solutions that would lead us in that direction. And I think some of the greatest ones that we've got going here in Montana, we're not funding them to the point that I would like to see them, but the Montana Board of Research, Commercialization, and Technology, for every dollar we give them, we get $13 back. They create jobs, they pay taxes, and you can kind of see it now. I'm not gonna quite be ready to do a victory lap, but with the downturn in the oil production in the Bakken, we haven't seen any impact to the salaries that we're getting in Montana. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen any impact to unemployment, and I think that's a nod to the fact that we are actually starting to build a pretty well diversified economy. Mm-hmm. Just within the last couple of weeks, it was announced that Montana is now leading the nation in manufacturing growth. So these sort of things, these seeds that we're planting, they're starting to bear fruit, and we just need to kind of keep the pressure on those things and keep them going, and the things that work, keep doing it.
And has the legislature played a pretty significant role in that diversification, do you believe?
It didn't get as far as I wanted to, but none of us go up there expecting we're going to come back with everything we're asking for. And I think we did a really good job this last couple sessions. I've been up there for 2 sessions, and I've been defending research money, and job creation type of programs through the Department of Commerce and the Governor's Office of Economic Development, for 2 sessions now. And I'd like to see more funds going there, but it's paying off. The things that we're doing are working. I just think we could, if we do more, we will get more in return.
One of the other issues that came up during the legislature, and I know you were involved, was infrastructure. And there were a lot of efforts and some back and forth on trying to fund some infrastructure in Montana. Where did we end up with that, and where do you see us going forward? Well,
again, there was a number of us who saw right before the session started, we saw the drop in the oil prices, and we knew that was going to limit exploration activity. And there's a lot of folks in Montana that were employed in that part of the business. And we sort of anticipated that we would take some hits to our unemployment numbers, and we'd have a lot of folks leaning on shovels. And the infrastructure projects is a way to do something that's much needed. Right. We're way behind in a lot of this stuff. I think Montana got a D- or possibly as high as a D+ when they rated their infrastructure, on a national level. So we've got a lot of work to do as far as fixing our infrastructure and building that up. And it would have been a great way to keep people employed, in between economic cycles.
True.
As it turned out, there just wasn't the political will to get those things done.
Mm-hmm. So where do you think we can go from there with that, with the money essentially for infrastructure kind of left on the table at the end of the session? What do you see as the next step? What do you believe may happen, or that could be done to get some of those infrastructure programs going?
Well, I think there was a great idea that was presented right at the end of the session. I was a strong proponent of it, but it didn't happen. But I think it's something we need to look into, and that is I've been there 2 sessions, and every session we argue about infrastructure and how to pay for it. Should we bond? Should we pay cash?
Right.
And that's the argument. Nobody argues that we don't need the infrastructure spending.
It's
how we're going to pay for it.
Right.
Well, we have one part of the permanent coal trust fund is now fully funded and does not need any more funds in it. And there was a proposal to divert the funds going into that permanent. Nobody spends the coal money, you just live off the interest, to create a separate fund called Build Montana. And it might not have enough money in there to do really major projects for a few sessions, but it would at least, for the legislature of the future, they wouldn't have to have this argument anymore.
Right.
It'd just be, the money is there. It's earmarked for these projects. Let's just find out where's the best place to deploy it.
Right. One other topic I wanted to get into with you before we leave is the civil asset forfeiture reform that you have been working on. Tell folks what that is, why you're concerned about it, and what you think needs to be done.
Yeah, well, this is a very strange thing. It's one of those things that came in with good intentions and turns out it's highly open to abuse. And what it does is it allows the government to seize assets from someone under pretense of probable cause. So, they could say, we're going to take your car because we think you're dealing drugs out of your car.
Right.
And then they don't ever have to charge you with anything. They don't ever have to convict you of anything. They still own your car. And so I just thought, it was a way to combat the income out of drug trafficking. If we take the income out of it, the drug dealers will go away. Well, that actually didn't happen. But now you find a lot of small town police forces are funding their police departments by doing this.
Right.
And just some simple things with the Constitution. Your right to life, liberty, or process can't be deprived of those without due process. And there's no due process in here. And the way we were getting around it is we don't charge you with anything. We take your stuff to court.
Right.
So it's the state of Montana versus a 72 Biscayne,
Right.
because you have rights, but your stuff doesn't have rights.
Right.
And I just thought that's a very convoluted way to get around the Constitution. So we just got it back to where I think our founders intended it, and where I think it should be, and that is, if you've got a drug dealer, take them to court, try them, convict them, and get them off the streets.
Right.
Don't just take their stuff and put them back on the street.
Yeah.
Make sure that you really have someone you can charge them with a crime, and then I have no pity for them. They can take their stuff then.
Well, it's a very interesting subject, and one I imagine is going to be in the headlines for quite a while.
We're one of only 4 states now that have this protection, so I'm really proud of and the other state that did it this year was New Mexico, with a Republican House member and a Republican governor. In Montana, it was a Democratic House member and Democratic governor got it done.
True. Well, Representative, I appreciate your time. We've been visiting today with Representative Kelly McCarthy from House District 49. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for stopping by.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Charter Local Edition has been an exclusive presentation of Charter Communications, providing original programming.